Hi, my name is Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the book Mrs. S by Kay Patrick, which I have recently finished, and this is another 5-star read. So, what's it about? It's set in a girls' boarding school in England, and the protagonist, our narrator, is the newly appointed matron. She has come over from Australia to work at this girls' boarding school. Whilst at the boarding school, our narrator, who is unnamed, as are all other characters apart from Mrs. S, our narrator develops a obsession with Mrs. S, who is the wife of the headmaster. And this sort of obsession, we see it develop. We see how Mrs. S in some ways reciprocates those feelings, and we see the development of that relationship. The book has quite an unusual writing style in that there are no speech marks, and not only are there no speech marks, but within one paragraph you'll have like a whole conversation. So literally one sentence will just run on to the next, and sometimes it's not 100% clear who's saying what. I found at points I had to go back and reread bits, and not only that, but also it's not also 100% clear if someone is thinking something or if they are saying it out loud. And clearly that is purposefully done by the author, and what that does is it lends the book quite a stifling and claustrophobic feeling. It has quite an intense atmosphere, and I think then that as well is reflective of how our main character feels having started work at this boarding school. There's a lot in the book about identity, and in particular gender identity. So our narrator wears a binder, and there's an exploration of gender identity and gender expression and how the narrator feels in her own body. One of my favourite parts of the novel is the friendship that develops between our narrator and the house mistress. So the house mistress is another character who has worked at the school for some time, and she is lesbian and she is butch, and she's quite self-assured and confident within herself and her own gender identity and gender expression. And what I thought was really lovely is seeing the friendship develop between our narrator and the house mistress, and in some ways it was like the house mistress was sort of like guiding the narrator. The narrator in some ways kind of looked up to her a little bit, but it was a really lovely friendship. That was my favourite part of the book. The setting is really great. The girls at the boarding school are only described as the girls, so capital T, capital G, as just this like mass. They're not individualised. Occasionally there'll be a girl mentioned, but it'll just be like the girl. They're not named. They are just sort of the backdrop, this sort of chorus to what's going on. The book has very little plot. Stuff does happen and the plot does progress, but it's not a super plotty book. It's really about the atmosphere and the exploration of feelings of desire. So I absolutely love this book. It took me a little bit to get into. It took me a little bit to get used to the writing style. But once I was in there, I absolutely loved it. It's a book that I absolutely will be rereading at some point, probably several times in the future. And I think this is a debut novel as well. Is this a debut novel? Yeah, this is a debut novel, and I just thought it was remarkable, really, and quite unlike anything I've ever read before, both in its style of writing and also in some ways in its content and its things that it is exploring. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. If you're interested, please do check it out. Let me know if you've read it and what you thought, or if you are planning on reading it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye.